Hi everyone, welcome back to Postie Bike Trav. Today we're going to throw the 125 engine into my brother's bike. So this is one that we picked up off Catch. It's not a Liffin engine, it's I don't even know what it is. It's a cheapie. We're going to give it a go, see how it goes. It's got an electric start, so that's pretty cool. And we're just going to throw it in as a bit of a trial. I thought I'd do a video on how to mount it today. I did an earlier video, touched on some of the wiring. We're going to, if you watch that video, I'm going to get another wiring loom for this engine with the electric start, like the start solenoid, etc. What I wanted to do was keep the original Honda loom for my indicators and everything else like that, and try and patch this into it. Because of the wires on this motor are nowhere near it, it's probably easy to get the loom that comes with it and then just patch that into the Honda loom after through the rectifier, and supply that loom with power rather than messing around too much with this. So just to basically make it a bit easier. I think it cost me $40 for the loom, so again, it's not expensive. That includes CDI, and what else, start relay, a few other bits. So that's pretty cheap. It's a bit of a trial, see how it goes. But yeah, today basically we're going to put it in. So this is the same for this motor or a Liffin 125. So I've got the mounting bracket. Now I picked this up online. This was from eBay. Again, it was about 50 something dollars, maybe 48, $50. I'm going to put this in the bike. I'm going to show you the way that this goes and how I get the engine in. So first off, the top engine mount, I'm going to turn the camera down a sec so you can see what I'm pointing to, needs to be drilled out. So I'll do that now. Okay. Righto, so on the engine, we've got a top engine mount and a bottom engine mount here. Same as on the original engine here, a Honda engine, top mount, rear mount there. On the Honda frame, that lines up. With this one, that lines up, but the back is too far forward. So you use this plate. Sorry about the rattling of bags in the background. Use these little arms here, and they set up on a bolt that goes through, and they come down, and then they mount up to the bottom of the engine. So that will become clear in a second, but that's what we'll use. But we need to open up this hole. So it's a 9mm hole, and we need to make it a 10mm hole. I've already done this side from here. I'll do this side so you can see. I just use a normal battery drill, making sure to keep it square. I'll just pause the camera for a second. I'll come back with the drill and we'll drill it. Righto. Trusty battery drill. So when you drill this, just make sure you hold it nice and square. If you're on an angle like this, or if you're going to grab in, you could even drill through the casing. It's only cast, so it's it's not strong stuff, so it could easily go through. Because it's 9mm to 9mm hole, and we're going to 10mm. There's not much to take out, which means the drill will grab easily. So I find the best thing to do when you're drilling that is to use a higher speed, but with less pressure. And if you feel it's grabbing and twisting, then take the pressure off it. So basically just putting the drill there, get myself lined up, and then I just go a bit of speed and no pressure. It'll grab, then I stop straight away, back it out, line it up again, nice speed, hardly pushing. See, I'm not even holding the engine, I'm just sort of letting the weight of that through it. Okay, grabbed again, so back it out. Okay, grabbed again, so and the reason that grabbed up a bit was that was where I was joining, where I drilled from the other side. So that's good now. drill bits just popped out the other side. Nice and easy. It's not a hard thing to do. I know people sometimes get a bit worried about doing that. Just make sure you lots of speed on the drill and don't push hard. If you start pushing hard and grabs, and then you've got a chance of coming out through into the casing or out of the casing. Okay, I'm going to vacuum up these metal filings off my workbench so I don't get them in the engine, and we'll go back down. Alrighty, so I've stripped out the engine out of this bike. If you're not sure on how to do that, I've done a video on that in previous on the charity build. So if you want to check that out, get to this point. I'll cut into the wiring, and we'll go through that with another video. But that's all up out of the way. I'll take the battery out. What I am going to do, wiring wise, before I get the engine in, is I'm going to put the new coil spark plug lead in. Just that there's no room to pass that through above the engine when it's in. You can undo the top bolt, move it slightly, you can get wires through, but you can't actually get that through. I learnt that one the hard way. So I'll take the original coil out, these two bolts that go diagonal across underneath the seat, and I'll mount this one up, and then we'll get onto the bracket installation. Alrighty, so that coil's in now. One thing I did notice, I forgot to mention before, is that the 12 volt coil that comes with this only has one bolt rather than the two. Same sort of thing, you can bolt it up. I use the front hole closest to the front wheel, just so that you can still get the length for your spark plug lead, and also it sort of keeps it out of the way. But the bolt is a bit longer and it sticks up a bit higher. So what I will do, I'm just going to put a little note to check that when I put the tank in. I don't want that rubbing on the bottom of the tank because it is quite a bit longer, so probably just cut it off with a grinder down a bit lower to be safe. But that's just one thing to note. If you are doing this conversion, you might want to check that out. These are the wires come through off the coil. We'll hook them up later, again when we're in the wiring phase of it. Okay, we're going to get this bracket on. I'll just get the bits together and we'll start. I might try and change the camera angle or put the bike on the side, try and get you right in to see this, because it's not hard, but it's just easy if you can see it. So okay, so I've tried to get the camera in there for you. I've got the bike on its side, I've got the camera sitting up on something underneath the bike. The lighting's not great, the camera's not enjoying it, but it's the only way I can sort of get you in to see how to do this. So we've got our brackets. Now I'm going to try and do this so that you can see how it goes, but I'll start there. So this is all going to be, this is on the gear shift lever side, okay? So that's how we'll determine which side is which. This is the gear shift lever for your standard or both engines. The bolts, 2 engine bolts off the original engine. The shorter one is the bottom one. So we're going to come up, we're going to put a plate on here. So the plate goes vertical where the bolt comes through, and horizontal so that it can bolt up underneath the engine flat, if that makes sense. Then we have these 2 spaces. We have a long one and a smaller one. The longer one goes on first, okay, and then we come up, then we have another plate, same orientation. So I'm trying to do this through the camera, looking backwards. Same orientation with that, and then that goes in. So that you've got, at the end of the day, you've got 2 plates flat underneath, that come up underneath the new plate that we'll put in the engine, and then the last spacer goes between the frame and the last plate, and that's the smaller one of the 2. Right, I've got them through. The original spring washer and nut off the original bolt go back on. anyone that's done this one knows this is a bit of a pain because the brake spring is right in the way. Okay, while I fiddle with this, I'll turn the camera off so you don't have to watch me struggle with putting a nut on. When I get that nut up, I'll show you. Got that bolt, or that nut on the bolt. They're the two plates. These need a little bit of bending. Don't expect them to go straight on. They will need a bit of a tweak. You can bend them quite easily with a big pair of vice grips or something like that. But once you actually get them on and clamp the bolts up, they straighten them up as well. So don't be too stressed if they're not lining up, as long as they're the same way. And you got the spacers, so this side has no spacer, longer tube, this bolt, then the small spacer. That will line up for the engine. So now that that's done, what I'm going to do is stand the bike back up. I'm going to lift the engine up into place, and I'm going to slide the top bolt through. That will hold the engine up where I want it to be, and that will mean that we can put these up on the plate, get them and work them around on the bottom of the motor and get them sorted. So I'll stand the bike up and I'll Alright, so I've got the engine sitting there ready to go up. You can see those plates look a bit easy to see there, how they're flat. I've got the bolt ready to go. Basically just lift the engine up, get my hand underneath and just slide that top bolt through. Alright, so that's in. It wasn't straightforward, but I'll run through what we had to do. Had absolutely no help from you, mate. None at all. So when I got it up to the point of putting the bolt through, there's this little block here, and that was hitting the frame, so it wasn't letting the engine come far enough up for this to go through. It was, so I get it started, but it wasn't enough to get it square enough to get it to slide the whole way through. So instead of cutting in my frame, I just took a little groove out of this block here, just a bit of clearance either side of the frame, so it's not rubbing, and just enough to get it up. So that sitting up there now, the bolt's all the way through. I'm just going to chuck a nut and washer on there, just so it doesn't fall out. I'm pretty sure it won't slide out while we're moving it, but working on it. Don't really want that in my head, so I'm going to lie on the ground, come for a trip down here with me, and there's our plates. And as you can see, they go on there and there. The motor has to be tilted up so that will come forward, but also the plate's going to be in between, which will keep these down. So I'll get the plate and we'll try and put that all together.